And I've seen it with people where they will push, push, push until they burn out. They'll take recovery. They'll move on to the next thing, push, push, push until they burn out. And then, and that's a pattern. But for them, that's familiar. That's something that.
Is that person in the room with
No, not at all. But I think we've both been guilty of that in the past.
Absolutely. So I'm interested, like if somebody had actually said to you much earlier on in your career, what do you need to perform at your best? Would you have known?
No. I would have had some idea of, what I need. And I think that's something that if I look from a personal level with it and the kind of stuff I need, and I mean, you'll remember as a child, I used to like to spend a lot of time in my room on my own. I used to like to spend a lot of time programming. I used to like to, play with my cars in my room. It was great having that time to myself, especially after a week at school. And we've talked about school and the environment that was like. Being able to have that time for myself to be able to process was valuable. But that isn't how, as parents, children were brought up back in the day. If you were in your room on your own, you were seen as being unsociable. So you'd have someone coming to the door every 5 minutes going, the sun's shining, why don't you get out? Why don't you go play? Why don't you do this? And the same, it's well-meaning in one regard, but that isn't what you actually, and that's where you start to realize that actually, this being on my own and doing this is actually helping me. Whereas if I'm out there, that's actually exhausting me. So you do tend to pick up on things based on scenarios. And I don't know if you remember, but the thing that I always used to do and absolutely would love to do, especially on a nighttime, late at night, is I would walk the entire village with my music on. And I'd do it at night because I wasn't going to run into people. And I could just walk, I could think, nobody was going to disturb me. And that was something that I had as kind of a regulation thing. And that was always, back then we didn't have the battery power that we have now. So you used to fit your batteries in and that might only last you an hour or two before you needed to change them again. But those were the moments that, when I had that time to myself and I had time to process and put things in place, that worked really well. You can't always do that in a work environment. You can have time to, you can have time to process and you can have time to think things through, especially if you're working on a project. But that also has to be time boxed. You have to be very careful with how you balance that energy. And too much of it, and this is where I think where people start to get overworked, that's what leads to fast burnout as well. Because it's the same as plugging your phone in to charge it and you get to 10%, but then you need your phone, so you take it out and you're making calls and then it's down and then you plug it in again, but it only gets to 8%. And eventually your phone is going to run out, and it's the same thing for people as well.
Good analogy.
Please.
And I mean, back early in our careers, I'm not sure that people would have stirred like, what do you need from our company so you can perform at your best, right? They'd be very much, this is who we are, this is our values, this is what we're all about, this is your job, follow these instructions, do things the right way, meet these targets, you're good to go. And sorry, it's so hot in New York. I have to pull my sleeve up a little bit in this. But I don't think also, and I'd had jobs through like university, before university, after university, right? And I've worked in different fields and things like that. But if anybody had ever stopped me and said, like, what do you need right now, Lois, to perform at your best? I would not have been able to articulate it. Like I can now, and I can do it very clearly and very like, mindfully as well, right? Because I've got experience of different workplaces. I've got reflection and hindsight. I know what worked, what didn't.